or arsonist that didn't burn anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this. If you I sent you guys the meme. If you start a fire in the city, it's a peaceful protest. If you start a fire in the forest, it's global warming. So I thought that was pretty good.
On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, Ginsburg gives up the ghost. The Civil War has already started. New facts about the Kenosha Kid, and Mexican sushi.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny, Marky, and Freeze, and this is episode 188 of the John1911 Podcast. So, Freeze, I'm certain, is probably sitting on his porch or in his garage drinking a cup of coffee. I'm sitting in the arms room at the Armory, and Danny is driving back from his super luxurious lifetime vacation experience. So hopefully Danny doesn't cut out too much.
I don't think so. And it's Mr. Ballback.
Right, Mr. Ballback. That's right. So we see Danny. We've been having this internal debate, office politics. See, Danny doesn't really have a call sign yet, or a nom de guerre, and the thing is, unlike Fiddleback 47, who it's an inside joke, your call sign gets hung on you by somebody else. You don't get to call yourself, "Hi, call me Duke." It's like, fuck you, Pee-wee. You know what I mean? And Danny is circling dangerously close to Ballback. So
what a distinction and a moniker to go through life with.
So well, I guess we better go ahead and get this started. So today is September 25th. It is about 9:50 a.m. And the reason I have to denote September 25th and 9:50 a.m. is the news comes so fast and furious anymore that, in 3 hours, the whole world could change and this podcast could sound obsolete, or we could sound insensitive for not talking about whatever hasn't happened yet. So I guess, so here's what happened. I'm talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I know everyone's just groaning that when talk about this, but I never wished any ill will on that woman. But I guess it was Friday night, and I was out getting I was actually buying stuff for the Armory. I was at some hardware stores, and I got a call, and it was, "Have you seen the news?" I'm like, "No." "So you don't know what happened?" And I'm like, "No." And it goes, "Ruth Bader Ginsburg just died." And my reaction is, fucking 2020, this year is just, our grandchildren will be talking about this year. I mean, this is unbelievable this year historically, like just what this country's going through. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is the last thing we need as a country. So.
Yeah, but look, I mean, this is no shock to anyone. I mean, we talked about this several years ago as to why someone didn't talk sense into her and have her step down when Obama was still president. I mean, this was a long time coming. Okay, so it happened in 2020 opposed to 2021. I mean, she wasn't going to last much longer anyway. The woman was very sick for a long time.
Yeah, hey, Freeze, watch your microphone. Don't cover. I think you might be covering your microphone or something. There's something going on there. So, yeah, she's been sick for a long time. And the thing is, like, there's this video going around. Like, I remember when she died, there was some people on Twitter, because, John1911, we got off Twitter because Twitter, I just didn't want to be associated with criminals and criminal activity, and Twitter is a criminal enterprise. But immediately after this woman died, people on her side of the aisle started shit-talking her, like how basically saying, you selfish woman, you should have resigned when Obama was president so we could have held your seat. And here's the thing. Ruth Bader Ginsburg saw all the same news that everybody else saw in 2016. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, AP Wire Service, Reuters, Breitbart, anybody and everybody who, was covering politics in 2016, from 2015 into 2016, everybody said, great, Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win.
Yep.
Hillary's going to be the next president. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, either she was of two minds. She either was saying, I'm a ride or die person, which is their right in the Supreme Court. A lot of them do that. Rehnquist did it. Or she possibly was looking at the optics, and she wanted to have that moment. So she thought Hillary was going to be president. She thought she could stand there in her robe with a female president holding up the, or I guess it's the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice swears in the, who swears in the Supreme Court members? Is it I guess it's the president. Is it the president? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or does the president just swear in the Chief Justice? I can't.
No, I think.
I thought.
Go ahead, Danny.
I thought it was the vice president, and the president stood there because if you look at the photos, excuse me, if you look at the photos of when Ginsburg was sworn in, Bill Clinton was to her right, or maybe it wasn't the vice president back then. I don't know.
It may change, but they were looking for you. It was obvious if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was as partisan as the left would like her to be, and I'm not so certain that's true. She fell for the same news cycle that the entire country fell for, and she was like, "I'm going to stand there and watch as a female president swears in a new female justice, and it's all going to be kumbaya and optics." And it was and if that's true, that is showboating. That is literally the basketball equivalent. Instead of running your ass down the court and getting those 2 points, you do something fancy to show off, and you fuck the entire thing up.
Yeah. Do you think she had different aspirations, maybe to be the Chief Justice?
No, there was no, because one, she was not functioning that well, but they don't you can make an existing justice the Chief Justice, but like when William Rehnquist passed away, they nominated the guy who's now turning Mr. Wishy-Washy, the guy who wrote the opinion against Obamacare before he wrote the opinion for Obamacare, the current chief, John Roberts. They nominated him to come straight in as the Chief Justice. So, no, that was never going to happen. I mean, there was some argument. Go ahead.
Well, that's the leftist biggest fear, because Roberts is wishy-washy. Trump puts in another conservative. Now Roberts, wishy-washy or not, is Mr. Minority. Yeah. So it doesn't matter his opinions.
It doesn't. I mean, well, I thought this was pretty interesting, and nobody's talking about this. So again, going back to that night when I was at the hardware store, and I get the call, and it's like, fuck. I'm like, oh my God, like this is just, I was just dreading it. And so, and I'm cursing again. So, it wasn't, immediately the conversation is, can the Republicans even get somebody through? And now you're talking about it's Mitt Romney, Murkowski, Susan Collins. Susan Collins probably isn't going to keep her seat. I mean, she's in trouble. And I can't remember, there's somebody else. But, it's like, great. Now we're going to listen to Mitt Romney tell us how we're all sons of bitches because we don't do things the way he wants done, even though we do things the way he wanted them done when he didn't have control. And I thought it was very smart. It was within an hour that I heard of the chief of Ginsburg passing. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, his office tweets out something, and it said, Donald Trump's nominee will get a vote in the Senate. And what that did is that immediately headed off at the pass the ability of Romney and some of these other people to play power politics and the angst and cry and say, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. I thought that was very smart. Nobody's talking about that. That was Mitch McConnell cutting Romney off at the knees, saying, okay, this is going forward. This will hit the floor, and if you are going to come out against this, you're the one that's going to go down for it, not me. And Romney backed off. Romney's like, I guess we'll go ahead and vote on it.
Yeah, I was surprised of his change of heart.
I think because McConnell that was very smart of McConnell, and nobody's talking about that. That was an example of Twitter. That was probably, in modern political terms, one of the most politically powerful moves ever done on Twitter, and no one's recognizing it now, but at some point in the future, they're going to be like, damn, that Mitch McConnell move was gangster. I mean, that was an example of Twitter. McConnell can sit there on Twitter. They can get a message. They can put it out immediately on a weekend evening, and it's out there for all the media. McConnell wasn't going to get behind the news cycle of, we can't get anybody to listen to us. We can't get any interviews. We can't get any news crews to stick a camera in his face until Monday. And all weekend, Romney could have been basically doing the turd flush on this whole thing. But no, but with Twitter and in 2020, the news cycle is literally 5 seconds. And I thought that was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yes, now that you mention it in that aspect, it was very brilliant. And can you say Romney seen the light, or he didn't want to be Mr. Scapegoat, or a little bit of everything?
Oh, Romney hasn't seen the light.
No. I mean,
yeah, I don't trust him as far as I can throw myself.
It's like, okay, the Donald Trump presidency has turned this country politically on its ear, and people that are partisan always want to look at the other side, not look at themselves. So, for example, people on our side of the aisle can look across and see that the Democratic Party is being taken over by communists, right? So that's pretty easy. Like we're looking what's going on, with coordinated riots and coordinated fires and coordinated lies about criminal stories that turn out to not be true, that cause all this drama and violence. But see, the other side of the argument is you got a bunch of Republicans, as Trump would call them, they choke. They never win. Like when Donald Trump was running, he's like, we never win. And that was always one of the arguments with Supreme Court nominations from the Republican Party. When a Democrat is president, they get whomever they get, and they get through, because the Republicans are like, well, you know what, this person is a super liberal, but they have this accomplished political career or accomplished legal career, and they're obviously qualified, so they vote for them. But see, Republicans, they get middle of the road people, they get wishy-washy people. And I remember, and people today don't know this, Justice David Souter, who is still alive, he resigned. He retired from the court. He was nominated by, I think, Herbert Walker Bush 41. And he turned into a total, just wishy-washy bastard. I'm not trying to, hurt the man, but the backlash from the truly conservative right, they started creating these lists. They started vetting candidates years before seats became available. The Federalist Society, the American Enterprise Institute, they would all come out with these lists, and the phrase was "no more suitors," and that's why now when they nominate Kavanaugh, people go batshit crazy, or they nominate this Amy Coney Barrett woman, they go batshit crazy, because it's not like Democrats get whomever they want, Republicans get a wishy-washy. Republicans don't get the win. Well, now Republicans, they're getting real people on there, and it's interesting. It is politically, it's interesting. It's causing all kinds of drama, because guys like Mitt Romney and guys like George W. Bush and George Herbert Walker Bush and a lot of these guys, McCain, they're losers. They were losers, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but they never fight. They never say what's on people's minds. Like, okay, right after Ginsburg passes, it wasn't a few hours later, then the other headline starts to drop because this thing was being spun by the media. Supposedly, Ginsburg's daughter comes out. Ruth Bader Ginsburg on her deathbed said, "I don't want my seat replaced by the current president." And, like, somehow, like, this becomes the narrative. This becomes the narrative in the story. And the thing is, all weekend, that would have been the story. That would have been the narrative on the Sunday news shows. And it wouldn't be until Monday that this comes out. Well, with Twitter and Donald Trump, and, he vomits everything that everybody thinks. Donald Trump says, that sounds like bullshit to me. That sounds like made up crap. I don't believe it. And everybody else thought that. But nobody would dare say it, be like Mitt Romney, because you're a son of a bitch. But Donald Trump can say it, and Donald Trump says the truth, what we're all thinking, that this is either a lie or irrelevant. But how dare you say it? Because how dare you speak ill of this woman who hasn't even been buried yet? Donald Trump will say it. And that's another example of how 2020 is just crazy different politically with Trump.
Well, I agree with that, but I mean, to the average person, other than if you're a far left liberal, who gives a rat's ass what she wanted on her deathbed? When I'm 6 foot under and pushing up daisies, I don't think anybody's going to give a rat's ass what I wanted.
I thought it was interesting because they went back and found some comments she had made, Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself had made, about the president's authority to nominate and replace judges. And she had said something, paraphrased, a president has a 4-year term, not a 3-year term. And a president has, right, and I thought that was very interesting. The reality is, the reality is, I don't think Ruth Bader Ginsburg is really as liberal as the meme culture wants her to be. They made her into this thing that wasn't real. Like, she's probably more center of the road. She probably would never even mentally admit this, but she's more Republican than she is a communist.
I'm not saying she's a communist, but I disagree with that statement 100%. She's nowhere near a Republican.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Now, hold on. Now, wait a minute. Is Donald Trump a Republican?
No.
Okay.
No, he's an old school Democrat from the 60s. But I don't think Ginsburg was anywhere even close to being a Republican.
Okay, well, hold on. Now, wait a minute. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was an old woman. Now, I don't remember all the details of this, but one of the things that Ruth Bader Ginsburg made her bones on when she worked at the ACLU is she represented, I think it was a guy who basically she had a case that was saying that this male worker was being discriminated by his employer, and she represented him, and I believe she won the case. She was able to prove that they were sexually discriminating against a man. And that concept on the other side of the aisle today is verboten. I mean, there's no way that flies. I'm just saying the meme culture that people made Ruth Bader Ginsburg out to be isn't really, I think, appropriate. Obviously, she's a liberal. Obviously, she's not a conservative. But there's a lot of people today voting for Donald Trump that are not Romney losers either. That's the best way I can put it. Bill Kristol, Romney losers.
Well, I mean, but again, making the comment that you think she's more Republican than communist, I don't know about that. I'm not saying she was a communist. I don't believe that.
I believe
she's definitely not one of these AOC socialist / communist type people, but she's nowhere near a Republican.
Well, the definition of a Republican today, the only with Donald Trump, the definition of a Republican today is not a communist.
Yeah, but you also have to remember when Trump was nominated and elected in 16, she is also the one that, as a judge, publicly came out against him and anything for him. You remember that?
I do. She also, I believe, ruled in his favor on a couple cases as far as the authority of the executive branch to do certain things. So my point is, she, like, let's say, just as a fake argument, if you were to take AOC and put her on the court, AOC would just make a bunch of shit up. Well, but I mean, but now we're getting into the whole abortion thing, which, I don't want to go there. So, but it was.
Did you?
Go ahead.
Did either of you two happen to see last night's news when Trump went for his viewing in state?
No.
Yeah, they booed him.
Yeah, they booed. I mean, how classless can one be?
Well, that's the thing. If you're a Democrat, you can be a dirty motherfucker and get away with it. That's peaceful protesting.
Burning buildings.
Yeah, it sounded terrible. Like, it didn't bother Trump at all. But it was like, way to show respect to that old woman. I've never been a fan of running down Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I don't agree with her, but I wasn't gonna sit here and wait for the Grim Reaper to come after her either. I even on our social media, I wouldn't tolerate it. Just leave that old woman alone. And all these people supposedly that are liberals just disrespecting that woman.
Yeah, but liberals
and last weekend,
everybody.
yes, themselves. Last weekend when they were blaming her for not resigning and dying on Trump's watch and all the other things like that. Last weekend, the liberals also came out and said how they're going to burn, riot, this and that if Trump replaces her. So it's like, where do you draw the line to tell these people, shut the fuck up? Well, and I think maybe that's where Trump's going.
It's like, well, okay, we're gonna burn it all down, and we're gonna burn and riot. It's like, wait a minute, that's what you've been doing anyway. It's like, I mean, like, let's just have a real conversation here, okay? It is now 10:11 a.m. on Friday, September 25th. Okay, we have had. I guess something could have happened since we started this podcast, heaven forbid. But just think about this. There were the deputies that were shot in California, the ambush shooting. Was that even a week ago? It seems like an eternity ago. There was the Hispanic illegal aliens that ambushed the guys in Arizona. There was, let's see, what else was there? I'm trying to. What other shootings have there been? The BLM guy walked into a bar in Louisville before the Breonna Taylor shooting, Breonna, whatever her name was, and shot a bunch of people in the bar. And then we had the cops shot last night or the 2 nights ago in Louisville. It's like, I mean, like, are we going to be in a civil war? Are we going to be in, the war started. I mean, this isn't going to end in November.
I'm afraid you're correct.
I mean, I'm not advocating it. I'm not happy about it. I don't like the word boogaloo and all that goofy bullshit. We're here. Like, drive-by shootings, political assassinations, roadside killings, random quote checkpoints thrown up. Like there's a story last night, I guess somewhere in California, and depending on which media outlet you read, is how it's covered. Cars going down the road in California were quote swarmed by protesters. Like climbing in the cars, on the cars, and, trying to pull people out of cars and all this crazy stuff. If you look at some of the liberal media, it's protesters hit by cars that went in the protester crowds. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, I mean, this is just, nobody's telling the truth here. Nobody's being objective.
Well,
I mean,
and
it's bad.
Go ahead, Freeze.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
You have to ask yourself, if you're driving down the road like that and your car gets swarmed and people are trying to pull you out of it and do harm to you, would you run them over? Would you shoot your way out of it? I think more and more people are changing to the latter and going to say, yes, enough of this. Well, I really do.
Well, if the truth is, and again, gun people tend to have myopic views. They think a gun solves all their problems, and it doesn't. If you're in a car and you're attacked while you're in a vehicle, the best thing to do is hit the long, skinny one on the right. Your vehicle is your best bet, not a gun. Don't stop the car. Don't get out of the car. Use the car. Escape. To use the overly repeated phrase, get off the X. Don't get into a gunfight. Get into a car chase.
Good point.
This is
good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. And then, like the last person that ran over some peaceful protesters, they were caught and they were arrested, and they'll have to go through their bullshit, because that's the way it is. When peaceful protesters try to drag you out of your car and you protect yourself, you're the one that goes to jail.
Yeah. Oh, and
that's just the way it is.
And let me add this to my list of just the things that have happened in the past, 8 days? Like the Ricin attack at the White House. Again, people, when I say that, they're like, what are you talking about? There was no Ricin attack at the White House. If I say it a different way, somebody put Ricin in an envelope and mailed it to President Trump. You're like, oh, yeah, I heard about that. So let's say what happened. There was a biological weapons of mass destruction Ricin attack on the White House. Nobody's talking about it.
Did you see a picture of that guy?
It's a girl.
I thought it was a guy.
It's a girl. It's a woman. It's a very ugly woman with short hair. I'm not kidding.
I thought.
It's a woman.
I thought it was a guy.
No, there is a. You guys keep talking. Let me look it up. I'll find her mugshot. Let me see. When I say keep talking, I'm going to find her mugshot. Give me a second.
Okay.
That's actually that. The only thing I did read is that she was from Quebec,
Canadian.
That she was French Canadian.
Huh. But don't you find it amazing how when you read stuff online, articles about all this stuff going on, how many non-American people reply and hate Donald Trump?
So I've got this.
Yeah, and why is that?
Well, but it's interesting. You see how many stories you see of people overseas and in foreign countries that apparently support Donald Trump. Like there was a video not that long ago out of Canada of a bunch of Trump supporters running down the street with American flags and Trump signs, which if I was Canadian would be a little creepy. It's like, I don't really like it when I see a bunch of foreigners here running down my streets with their flags. That would be creepy. I'm just being real. But anyway, I've got this woman. A Canadian woman has been identified as a suspect behind the incident where a letter containing ricin was sent to the White House. Pascal Ferrier, Pascale, of Quebec, was the woman arrested Sunday at the Peace Bridge border crossing near Buffalo, New York. And that is an ugly woman. That could be a guy. I mean, like
I thought it was.
Yeah, it's a woman. I mean, I don't know. Is Pascal Blaise Pascal? It's a last name. Is Pascal a gender neutral name? Like Sam?
I don't know. I have no clue.
So, it's just, I don't know either, but, I mean,
I have no clue. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. I mean, but it doesn't get that much press. I mean, like we're in this insurrection. This is going to go on for at least a decade. I mean, I hate to toot my own horn, but I've been predicting this. This is going to get worse. The cities are going to get really bad. There's going to be a lot of urban police officers who are going to get a lot of stripes, because they're going to be earning it. And, unless we go to war with China or something really terrible happens that involves U.S. military, if you want action, if you want experience, if you want to, really do something interesting with your career, it's probably not going to be in the military. It's probably going to be in law enforcement for the next 10, 12 years.
Well, two things that I found extremely interesting while way up north here on vacation. I went into 3 different gun stores. They're basically all out of ammo, handguns. They do have some long guns for hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And that is just guns. That's just pure gun stores up here where they, hunting is life to these people.
Yeah, but everyone's out of ammo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're even running here at the Armory. We're starting to run, like, our high volume stuff. We're running remanufactured ammo. Like, we did a video, the 10-8 function test on a Wilson 1911. That's with repop ammo. And we're getting it from the same place. I don't want to say who because we're not supposed to talk about it. But, because we're not really running the first run factory ammo right now. And this is going to get worse. There's a stat coming out, I guess in quote, swing states. Gun sales are now up 80%.
And so is the price, I bet, with them.
Well, I mean, it's a supply and demand. I mean, yeah, some people are going to gouge. But look, I mean, prices go up when there's a shortage.
Yeah, and a lot of times that those prices are reflective of what the wholesalers have to pay.
Yeah,
because people have to make money, and if you don't have product, you can't sell it. And so what's happening is the wholesalers are paying more to get stuff, so then they can sell it to their retailers who have to pay more, who have to raise their prices. And in many cases, the retailers are not jacking up. I mean, they're not making more money.
Right. When you want to talk about price gouging, it's not so much price gouging on the price of the firearms, it's the ammo. There's a lot of people out there, because there's no ammo available, when they do get it, they're charging 4, 5, 6 times, what they should. There's a lot of price gouging going on with ammo.
We talked about this off air. It's like, okay, if we have to, if we start running out of like 9mm ammo, because we shoot a fair amount over here, we can find it. It's on the internet. A case of 9mm, 1,000 rounds right now is going for about $600. And, we normally pay about $200. And it's like, well, we'll just have to pay $600. I mean, the John 1911 Armory and Ranges are not going to stop functioning. We'll just have to pay it, Yeah. And I think a lot of people out there don't understand that.
Do you know what the one really big gun dealer, gun shop that I went into, you know what he told me his number one selling ammo is?
Number one selling ammo?
Now, remember where I was, my location.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I'll tell you what it was. 308. To me, it didn't make sense, but that's what he said.
I don't know. People buy what they can. I mean, it's a standard NATO round. I mean, if you
and hunting,
but like if you needed ammo and you have some guns and you're like, I don't have enough ammo to fight off Antifa or the communists, and you go to the store to go buy ammo and like they've got more 308 than anything else. You're going to buy as much 308 as you can. You're going to come home. You're going to put your AR up on the wall. You're going to get out the FAL and go, I guess we're 308 for the duration. You're going to run what you can.
Very good point.
And 308 was probably one of the last rounds to kind of get scarce. It's heavier and expensive, and there's not as much demand for it as there is 5.56. So
maybe that's why he was selling it the way he was.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
very good point.
So you were up there,
and that'll do the job.
So wait a minute,
go ahead.
I don't want you to tell me the town where you're at on your bourgeois vacation, But what's were you in Minnesota? Where are you at? Wisconsin?
Have you close to the UP?
Okay, Upper Peninsula for the rest of America that doesn't speak that language. Okay, so
the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yeah. So, well, okay. When you went up there, did you talk to the locals?
Oh yeah.
Like, since you're near Chicago, and they found out you're near Chicago, did they ask you questions like, "Is Antifa in your neighborhood? Or are they burning down? What's crime like?" Do the people on the Upper Peninsula feel like Antifa's coming to get them next?
No, actually, on the Wisconsin side, it's open carry, and I would say 8 out of 10 are packing.
That's interesting.
So yeah, very much so. Well, this morning when I walked out, I was worried about going to be, attacked by a bear. So, it is up there. But a lot of people were open carrying. The gun stores were basically empty out of ammunition. 308 was flying off the shelf. And as far as me being from the Chicago area, one guy did ask, "What do you do with all those riots?" I said, "Well, fortunately, I'm not in the city proper, but I'm smart enough to have protection." And he said, "Oh, good." Mm-hmm. I said, "Thank you."
Well, I remember I've been talking to a fair amount of people in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, and in other places too. And it's what I thought was interesting is there are a lot of people in in rural towns that literally are now looking at the news. I have to set this up. These people probably never, like the big city around here be Cincinnati. These people probably never come to Cincinnati. I mean, very rarely. Like going to Cincinnati would be a pretty unusual thing, maybe once a year. And so, but they see the news and they see the stories, and they are literally, I'm not saying they're prepared for an imminent invasion of communist anarchists, but they are preparing. I thought it was interesting talking to people and then talking to law enforcement and then talking to people, how they talk to law enforcement, how they were all really into, our cops aren't going to put up with that bullshit. We're not going to put up with that bullshit here. You bring that bullshit here and it's going to be on. I mean, they wanted everybody to know that wasn't from their town, and insert whatever town you want, that they ain't going to tolerate it. And what was interesting is a lot of these areas, what I would consider traditionally Democrat areas, and but they're Trump voters, and they all think that they're next.
I agree, and let's just say the Trump signs and whatever, people wearing it out in public or whatever, easily was 100-1 over Biden up here. It was crazy. Go ahead. It's crazy. Go ahead.
No, I'm seeing the same thing. I'll tell you what. In Ohio, I think the Trump signs got a slow start, and we had one of those big old. They're having them all across the country. People get in cars or boats or planes or trains, and they fly their Trump flags, and they do. They go somewhere because they don't want to put it in front of their yards because they don't want their house burned to the ground. And after that rally happened, I'm seeing literally Trump signs in favor of Biden signs. It's probably 8-1.
I saw a fantastic meme the other day. It says, according to yard signs in my neighborhood, Biden's coming in third behind Trump in yard sale.
Yeah.
I like that one.
But also what we're seeing around here, I don't know if you're seeing it in the rest of the country, and if the listeners come in and leave comments below, I started noticing it in some of the towns. You wouldn't see Republican signs. You wouldn't see a Trump sign. You wouldn't see even like a local, like a prosecutor or a judge. No Republicans. But you would see a sign in a yard, and it would say, "Thank you to our insert your whatever city, township, whatever village police department." Or it'd be like, "We support our whatever police department," or "Thank you for the support of our law enforcement." And I couldn't help but feel that this was a way for, I guess I'm going to use the political term that everybody's been using for a while, shy Trump voters who don't want to have their house burned to the ground, to maybe stick their toe in the water, to just say, we're not buying into this narrative that all cops are bastards. And then, because I was seeing a bunch of those signs and no Trump signs.
Speaking of Ohio, Trump had his rally there last week, and I guess there were thousands and thousands of people, support all over. On fake news this morning, they announced a new poll coming out of Ohio has Trump behind 2 points.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, that's total bullshit.
I'm just saying what was on the news this morning.
I'm being objective here. Unless you can get Biden, unless you can get the communists in Hamilton County, which is where Cincinnati's at, in Columbus, and then in Cleveland to swamp the rest of the state. And here's the thing. There's no way there's that many communists in these three big cities. I mean, Ohio, if you are looking at the election and you don't live anywhere near the Midwest, and, they always talk about, well, Ohio determines. Well, here's a clue. They used to always say Ohio would determine for Republicans, if a Republican won Ohio, he or she would be president. You don't hear any of that right now.
Right.
You don't hear
That's also back when Ohio had like 26 electoral college votes. We're down from that now.
Well, in the Ohio's not in play. Ohio is not in play. Donald Trump could take Ohio and fold it up and put it in his pocket. And if you're a Democrat and you're a liberal and you're listening to this and you live in Ohio and you're pissed off by that phrase, prove me wrong, because I am not seeing it.
I think it was wishful thinking on the pollsters' parts, but also, did you see where one of the polls was proven to be wrong because they showed Trump behind 4 points, but they polled 78% Democrats?
Well, you always have to look at polls, and you have to look at how they're constructed based on the model. And so you can do a couple different things. You can model based off of population, but here's the thing: not everybody votes. Not everybody can vote. You can model based off whether somebody identifies as a conservative or a liberal, but again, that doesn't necessarily translate into parties. And then you can poll based off whether someone is a registered Democrat or a registered Republican. But that doesn't always necessarily mean that person is going to vote for who you say they're going to vote for. And then, here's the real danger for the Democrats, and they know this. Donald Trump is doing something that Barack Obama was able to do, and he's doing it even more than Obama was. Donald Trump is getting people to register to vote that they want to vote that these people don't normally vote. And the thing is, if you're someone who doesn't normally vote, if you're not a registered voter, if you're not a former registered voter, if you're not a registered member of a party, if you don't identify as a member of a party, or if you don't donate money to political parties, you're invisible in all the polling. You don't exist. And they have no way to calculate that. And they're scared shitless of it. Donald Trump is getting a fuck ton of those people. Ohio's not in play. And if Ohio's not in play, that means they can put more energy into Pennsylvania, more energy into Michigan.
You could look that up, and why they. I like I said, I just put it under the file of wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean it's the polling. I get real. I don't like what I don't like about polling is I don't like how people that don't pay attention to polling use it and how they talk about it. Because what happens is people who want your candidate, people who want Donald Trump to win, if there's a poll that says Donald Trump isn't winning, they will say, well, the polls are wrong. The polls are always wrong, and they were wrong about 2016. If people want Donald Trump to win, and all of a sudden Donald Trump says approval rating 52%, thank you, they cite that poll, and they get it both ways, and they're not into the weeds looking at how this stuff's being calculated and collated, and it's not good. I mean, it's not a good way to to try to figure out what's going on. Donald Trump was losing. Donald Trump was losing this summer. He's winning now.
Well, and you also don't want to create the apathy, effect either by having him too far ahead in the polls and people staying home.
Yeah, and the other thing is the internal polling numbers. The internal numbers are showing this. The Democratic Party, and they're getting nervous about it. Even Michael Moore's been talking about it. The enthusiasm for Donald Trump is much higher than is for the internal polling for enthusiasm for Biden. And that's another thing. How do you count enthusiasm? So, like, for example, okay, if you're looking at a poll, to go back to the poll thing, I know this is like John1911 Podcast. It's like, I don't know if I can talk about this. But it's like, if Danny votes for Trump and Marky votes for Trump, and Danny is enthusiastic voting for Trump, and Marky's just like, fuck, I wish he would just shut his fucking mouth, and I vote for Trump, how do you register an enthusiastic vote versus an unenthusiastic vote? I guess it depends on what you're trying to say. If you want to show, if you want to talk about, if you want to downplay enthusiasm, you tell everybody, I don't care whether you're enthusiastic or not, as long as I got your vote. But if you're trying to, use a different metric to count the polls, you need enthusiasm to show what could happen.
Yeah, yes, you do. Yes, you do. They had, speaking about that, they have the Trump campaign, the second person plural here, the Trump campaign has not attacked Kamala Harris yet as the heir apparent with the Biden. Labeled him her into that somehow.
Well, okay, it's in the middle of September. The election's 40 some days away. It's just over a month away. Was it yesterday or the day before? The Biden campaign. If you're in a news cycle and you have reporters that are covering your beat, what you can do is reporters want to know whether they should stay around because there's going to be something developing today, or whether they can go to Fatburger or go home and hang out with their kids or work from home today. And so what they'll do is the White House would say something like, it's 8 o'clock at night or it's 6 o'clock on Friday. We're putting a lid on it. Obviously, if something develops, everybody can come back here, but we have nothing more planned for today. The Biden campaign a day or two ago, in the middle of the week at 9 o'clock in the morning, quote, put a lid on the news cycle at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's crazy. What the hell does that even mean?
They're preparing him for the debate Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Well, then, okay. But then, you've got Kamala Harris. She is not Kamala Harris. When you choose a vice presidential candidate, you're supposed to be the attack dog. You're supposed to be the person going after. How come Kamala Harris hasn't said squat about the SCOTUS pick? Hasn't said squat.
She's been very quiet.
They don't want her to talk either, and it's bizarre. It's bizarre. And either this is going to be the biggest rope-a-dope in history, and and Biden's going to come out like low expectation Biden, and Trump's going to think he's going to I'm just going to walk all over and just Trump gets whacked, proverbially, at the debate, or there's something wrong with the Biden campaign. There's something wrong with Biden as the candidate. There's something wrong with their people. The whisper campaign that Joe Biden is not mentally functioning is becoming an issue that even the liberal media is not going to be able to cover for too much longer.
That's where I think the debate is going to make a lot of people's minds up that might have been on the fence. But also, I think I know really why Kamala Harris has not been out. Did you see that meme of Willie Brown's wife saying, Pence invited me to the debates to sit in the front row?
Nuh-uh.
No.
Is that a meme or is that real? Is that real?
I don't know, but if I could find that picture, I'll send it to you. I was laughing so hard I was crying.
Okay, but you know what? To talk about Willie Brown, when I really look, California, I know who Willie Brown is. Kamala Harris is an attractive woman. Let's not even fucking pretend that she's not. And, he kind of put her on. But what I don't like about an entire situation is she turned on him. And, I just feel like you should have some personal loyalty. If Willie Brown came out and said, I don't think you should be vice president, I don't think whatever, at the very least, I would think if I was Kamala Harris, I would be like, well, I think I always, thought a lot of Willie Brown and my time with him, and I wish him well and whatever. But man, he's washed up, he's this, and she did this. She was doing this 20 years ago, shitting on Willie Brown. It's like, you were fucking him. Now he's washed up and you're not. This is bizarre. It really strikes me as wrong. I like a little bit more personal loyalty among friends. And that bugs me with her.
Well, the saying, though, politics takes no prisoners.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I can't complain about personal loyalty and, maybe moral judgment, personal honor code is the best way to put it. And then also, Donald Trump is my president. I don't know. Some people can make the argument, that I'm full of shit. I readily accept that. At least Donald Trump fights. I don't know. Maybe it's a sexist double standard. I hold Kamala Harris to a higher standard than I do Donald Trump. I don't know. I guess that's true. That probably is true on some level. Because, if someone says something shitty about Donald Trump that used to work with Donald Trump, he comes at him with freaking sledgehammers. And I don't really complain about it too much. So, yeah, I guess, I'm a hypocrite. I don't much like it. There's things I don't like, it's sexist. I'll be like, okay, like women's boxing or women's MMA fighters. I like mixed martial arts. I like UFC, but I can never watch two women beat the shit out of each other. I find it distasteful. I just can't do it. And I know there's these girls out these, you get these girls that are either really good or you get these girls that are really good and they're really and I understand the appeal. I understand people watching it. I just can't watch it. I don't tell people that they can't watch it, but it's part of my built-in sexist gender issues. I have no desire to watch two women beat the dog shit out of each other.
We've all had
front to watch it.
We've had all front row seats to it ourselves in the course of our careers.
Well, you know what? Now, here's the thing. On the street, a couple whores fighting over a corner and, one of them gets a little fresh and the other one, gets a good hit in. That's more of a morality play. That's more of a soap opera. That's more of a story. That's not two women just beating the piss out of each other for no reason. There's more going on there, and I do enjoy that. But just two women that want to square up and bloody themselves. I'm like, yeah, I'm out, guys. I'm gone. I'm gonna go
I just
get
find it amazing. I find it amazing that there's always someone there nowadays with a cell phone to capture the moment.
My personal favorite's when you got someone filming the event with a cell phone, yelling, "Someone call the police!"
Yeah.
It's like,
oh no. There was one. I don't remember what city it was in. The Antifa communists were doing something, and somebody screaming, "Don't film the crime! Don't film the crime!" over and over, trying to get people to not videotape what they were doing, setting fire to buildings and burning stuff down, because the feds are starting to go through and pick people up, which is about damn time. And did you guys see the video, the segment Tucker Carlson did on the Kenosha Kid?
I saw that.
Did you guys see that?
Yes, I did.
No, I did not. I was lucky I had a radio service where I was at.
So, well, that's unfortunate because Danny needs some credit here. So a while ago, Danny was doing a deep dive on the Kenosha situation. And you were the one that started talking about gunfire from people in places that was unexplained, bullet injuries from people in places that was unexplained, and some of the other facts. And because it was going against the narrative, well, apparently Tucker Carlson, whatever his name is, they've got video. They've identified all kinds of people involved in this Kenosha thing. They've got a guy with a gun who may have been firing at the Kenosha Kid before any of the stuff happened. They've identified that person by name. They've got all kinds of and it's what they've done is they've gone out on social media and they just hoovered up all of these videos that people are posting. And there was a video of the alleged shooter that we didn't know about. He was handling a gun in a group of people and a pistol. He was moving it from one hand to another and putting it in a pocket. And it was literally a tenth of a second, but they got a freeze frame of it and they got his face holding that gun. And they've got his name. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And we warned everybody.
I did my homework.
Yes, but you were always on videotape. You were always on camera. Do not be doing shit that you would be ashamed of, because you're going to get called out for it. I just thought that was super interesting. If you want to see about more info about the Kenosha Kid and what transpired up there with him, watch the Tucker Carlson segment from, I guess it was Monday night. And it was, they've really done some deep dive stuff on that. Yeah, and it looked like that there were people trying to murder that kid.
It was very interesting because they were showing video footage that the lamestream media just wasn't showing. And
you know what? Wouldn't it be great if the media would do as deep of a dive on Breonna Taylor as they tried to do on Judge Kavanaugh?
Oh, there's no way that'll happen.
I know, but but if they would just do as much of a background search, half of what they've done on Judge Kavanaugh that they would do on Breonna Taylor, they would realize the Breonna Taylor thing down there in Louisville is completely fake.
Well, how about when the verdict came down from the grand jury the other day? They didn't want to accept the truth from the attorney general that read the facts.
Mm-hmm. Again, to give Tucker Carlson another a bone here. I don't normally watch a lot of television, but it's maybe worth paying attention. I've kind of figured out if Tucker Carlson's on, what I try to do is listen to the first 5 minutes. I'll listen to it on audio just to see what he's covering. And there's video from Louisville right after the verdict came out of a U-Haul truck. Have you seen this, Danny, of the U-Haul? And the Antifa guys were unloading shields and weapons and stuff out of the back of the U-Haul?
I believe I sent that to you.
Yes. Well, the argument's always been who the fuck's paying for the U-Haul? Well, apparently, the U-Haul's got a number on the side of it with a serial number, so they contact U-Haul, and they have figured out, they actually know who the person is. It was a woman, and she's associated with a group that gets a bunch of money, I think, from the Soros people, and it's Democrat, and it's this organized crazy shit. And it's just like, there's a lot of stuff going on with this violence, this organized violence. And I just keep wondering, the federal government went after the mob in New York, and that made Giuliani's career. The organized crime and the violence and the racketeering and the collusion and all that shit across state lines and financial transactions and all the RICO shit. And you're telling me that we can't RICO the fuck out of all these people that are involved in all this violence across all these state lines? I'm just like, why aren't we doing this? I mean, again, Donald Trump, Attorney General Barr, get off your ass and get after it.
Yeah. Well, I just thought of some. Oh, go ahead, Freeze.
No, truthfully, I think after this election is over, we get into 2021. If Donald Trump wins, I think you will see them going after a lot of these groups. But right now, prior to the election, I think he's just laying back, let them do their damage, let them hang themselves. And I mean, the more Black Lives Matter and Antifa burn cities down and riot and loot, the more that helps Donald Trump in the long run.
I agree.
I understand that logic, but speaking from experience and observation, I don't believe that to be true. Because if that was true, Hillary Clinton would be in jail. And she gets away with everything. And I have a hard time believing that the federal government that's mostly populated by people that believe in large, big government and I have a hard time believing they're going to go after the political side of the aisle that supports what they believe in. I think you'll find outliers and individuals in certain areas that may make exceptions to the rule, like, some sheriff somewhere, or some mayor somewhere, some governor somewhere. Well, as far as like federal RICO charges, I don't believe it. Until I see it, I don't believe it.
Yeah. In a way, I agree with both of you. They haven't done anything yet, but I also agree with Freeze, because look at Pelosi spouting out, we're going to impeach you again. So you don't think that when Trump gets back in, he's got some payback for that old hag?
Nancy Pelosi is the gift to Donald Trump that keeps on giving. She's the best thing for him, because she is totally incapable. She's the left's version of losers. She is just incapable of self-awareness and critical thought. She is such a political animal that she only lives 5 minutes at a time. And she tries to not be that, but she is so beholden to these little commies and anarchists, this Red Guard people, and she's trying to grab the tiger by the tail, so she can ride it. And if she lets go of that tiger, the tiger's going to turn and eat her too. And watching her do this dance, this jig, this crip walk, this stay alive, it's a great gift to Trump, in my opinion.
There's a meme, maybe I could find it, but she was speaking, I don't know, and it had a picture of her, and the caption on top was, "Look, it's Death Nelly."
Wow.
Some of this shit that people come up with, the death knell, I thought it was pretty good.
Damn,
she's cool. Just I mean, between her and Biden, Biden,
Mark,
go ahead.
You know what I think it is? I think they're keeping Harris under wraps because they don't want the association of Sleepy Joe, Dementia Joe, whatever, and the association of her going to take over if anything happens. And I think that's what they're trying to hide, basically, in the basement along with Biden. Although anyone that can think can see that, but I think they just don't want to make that more public than what it is.
When I think, go ahead, Freeze.
Well, no, I mean, I think I don't disagree with you, Danny, but But you made a comment, keeping Joe in the basement. My question is this debate going to be a virtual debate or a one-on-one debate between Trump and Biden?
From what I heard, it's one-on-one, no audience. Fox is supposed to be moderate the debate, but they're already saying that Biden will get softball questions from one of the Fox reporters.
Who's they? Well, it's Chris. One of the Fox reporters is the moderator of the debate is
Chris Wallace, isn't it?
Chris Wallace.
Oh yeah, Wallace, and they're the one, and he is an anti-Trumper from the get-go.
Is he?
Oh yeah.
Oh, very much so. Oh, horribly.
Yeah, does not like Trump at all.
No, he does not.
I can see that. I mean, I can see it. I don't know if I've really paid that much attention to him in his reporting to divine that from his biases.
Man, you just listen to the times he's interviewed Trump. Oof. It's kind of...
Well, have we talked about Megyn Kelly? Did we talk about that on pod, or was that a conversation? Was that off pod?
She pulled that shit last debate, last election.
Well, the reason Megyn Kelly, she blew up her career is Trump had gotten word, because all the people, like the Democrats, were telling, oh, we would love Donald Trump, please run. Then Donald Trump started getting traction, and the word went out at Fox News that coming debate that they were going to, quote, take Trump out, and Trump got word of it, and he even called up the president of Ailes, the president of Fox, and it was like, what the fuck, motherfucker? Like, they got into it. Like, I heard you they're going to set me up. And that's when he went after Megyn Kelly, because she was going to take his ass out. And that's when he made the comments, like she had blood coming out of this and that, blood in her eye. Because he speaks in that truncated New York lingo, and they were trying to say that she had blood coming out of her vagina or something. But the reality is, they tried to spin that story that it was Trump was being sexist, but the real story was that Megyn Kelly was supposed to take Donald Trump out because the joke was becoming serious, and Trump went after that, and I have to respect it, because even today, the political scene doesn't recognize for that and what it was. And also, you'll notice Megyn Kelly, she's still dead. She got run off from NBC, and then she tried to do interviews on like Instagram, and she's not getting any traction. She's trying to do like some kind of, like, she wants to have like a YouTube channel or be her own talent, and nobody's watching it, even though she gets some big interviews, and it's just not working. And I thought that was interesting.
And she got all that money from her failed TV show that she signed for.
She did. Also, remember, she showed up at Fox News once or twice to do some guest appearance pieces, like as a guest, like on Hannity. And what that really was, wherever she was at, maybe it wasn't Hannity, but what that really was a trial balloon to see what the audience at Fox would think of her. And they basically were like, nah, you the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to see you. No one wants to go back and relive your bullshit. And I mean, I like Megyn Kelly, but it was just like she just destroyed herself.
I never did like.
Did you see how Fox hates her?
Did you see how Fox cut? Did you see how Fox cut Gingrich off when he was talking about Soros?
Das verboten, I did.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
But then it wasn't 4 or 5 days later. The U-Haul truck in Louisville and the woman who works for the group that's getting the money from Soros.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is an unfortunate timing for Fox. Unfortunate timing for, it's like, because the thing is, there's this thing, like, you're never allowed to criticize, George Soros, or you're anti-Semitic. That's what that is. That's why they shut him down, because one of the standard criticisms, if you're anti-Semitic, and I had to learn this from Reuven, or one of our contributors. He's Jewish, in case that wasn't obvious. The idea of there's all these tropes about Hebrew Judaism and groups, And, you can go into a bunch of them, but one of them that I wasn't really aware of is this idea of globalism and the international Jewish conspiracy. And what it is, Ilhan Omar and some of her buddies, like they dance around it. Like I remember she said something like Israel hypnotizes the world, and everybody went all crazy. And she's making criticisms of all the support that Israel has in certain countries, and the angle that they use left them open to criticism because it's a traditional anti-Semitic thing to say. And apparently, George Soros is a globalist, and he's always fucking with different countries in all these political arenas. And so, if you talk about it, it now becomes Jewish international globalism, and how dare you talk about it? We're not talking about it.
How do you link George Soros with anti-Semitics in that? I mean, he's not.
George Soros is Jewish.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
But I thought he was a Nazi camp guard or something.
Don't need to.
No, I mean
don't need to phone a friend.
He's Hungarian born. I didn't know he was of Jewish origins.
You guys talk amongst yourselves. I will Google this shit real quick.
Okay. So I don't think he's Jewish.
Keep talking.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
I had read once where he was a ex-Nazi.
I've heard that, but I don't necessarily believe that. I mean, because Soros was born in either the late 20s or early 30s, and I mean, he really would have been too young to be a Nazi. I mean, he could be.
Okay, I got it. Here we go. So, early life and education. Soros was born in Budapest in the Kingdom of Hungary to a prosperous, non-observant Jewish family who, like many upper-middle-class Hungarian Jews at the time, were uncomfortable with their roots. He's Jewish.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I think some of the, and I don't know this, I'd have to ask Ruben. He knows a lot about George Soros. I think the criticisms of Soros with the Nazis isn't him being a Nazi camp guard. I think he may have been one of the, there were people in the Jewish community that they have a term for it, like the ward guys who ran the if there was a bunkhouse in a concentration camp with 100 Jewish prisoners in it, or Jewish concentration camp victims, there would be one guy that was appointed to run that, and he lived there. He was a Jew, but he was collaborating with the Nazis, and they had a term for that. Every one of those guys, the Israel, they hunted all those sons of bitches down. And Soros may have something. He might have been too young for that, but there's something there with that. I'm not certain. I'll have to ask Ruben. So George Soros is Jewish.
I got flashing nose. My co-pilot just showed me something. The FBI, or Trump's chief of staff, just berated and ridiculed the FBI director and is pushing the agency to probe voter fraud now happening.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be a big change. There's not going to be a big push on voter fraud. Well, look at it this way. If Donald Trump doesn't win, there's not going to be a big push on voter fraud. If Donald Trump does win, there'll be a bipartisan push for one man, one vote, because what will happen is the Democrats are going to complain that all of their mail-in ballots were discarded and they were disenfranchised, and the Republicans are going to claim that you got a bunch of people ballot harvesting and faking votes. And so if Donald Trump wins, there will be a bipartisan push to tighten up voting in this country, probably possibly with national ID or something. We'll just have to see what happens with that. So, well, we've been going for a while on the on this has been a very politics heavy episode. Obviously, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and everything else going on, and cops getting shot across the country. It's just terrible. So, I wanted to do a couple of like other stories, like police blotter stories and other kind of stuff. Freeze, would you want to go down to Camp Lejeune and shoot coyotes?
Yeah.
Apparently, Camp Lejeune has a coyote problem. The guys get up and they run early in the morning.
Yeah.
And people are getting bit by a coyote, and they're like, "Don't run over this." And I'm like, "You telling me there's not someone down there that can't set up and shoot this coyote?" I can't believe this.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Why do they have a coyote problem?
It's like, hey, I'm sure you can't find someone that loved to set up over there and shoot that coyote, like go and wait for that guy. And I just thought that was like, yeah. Well, apparently they used to have these problems at Camp Lejeune. Some of the guys, they would feed alligators, like, behind buildings or something. There'd be an alligator somewhere and they'd feed it. And then once, they move on, then what ends up happening is 6 months later, you're out somewhere and this alligator comes slithering up to people because he's not afraid of people because he's waiting for the raw chicken. And it's like, don't feed the alligators, asshole. Like that was always a problem down there, as I recall. But that was kind of, I just thought that was just an interesting story. I'm like, they don't have, like, I know quite a bit of hunters that are in the military. They would love to be whacking coyotes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's like having geese on an Air Force runway.
I know a guy that does that. I know a guy who he shoots. I got to be careful. He keeps. There's an airport he keeps clear. He was shooting everything.
Bald eagles.
Everything. I tell you what, if a bald eagle was about to cause an airplane crash, they would probably shoot it. I mean, it's like they were shooting, like they were making like any of their deer, it was headshot. They always shot the deer in the head.
Yeah,
really?
Because they did not want to have on any instance of a deer running and hitting running into its active airport. If a deer runs out on trying to get away from a shooter and runs and ends up causing an accident, because he's running and been injured, like a deer runs 50 yards and makes it onto a tarmac, and some airplane's like trying to get the B-1, and like whacks into this thing, it killed 100 people.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be in Article 15 at least.
Yeah, so it was set up. It's like you will use small they use 223s, and you will shoot these animals in the head, and you will DRT them right there, drop right there. And so don't take a shot that isn't DRT. And and then they would make sure that the like if it had like bullwinkle antlers, like all that shit has to go to the DNR. They can't keep any. You have to turn it all in. And I remember this one guy, he sent me a picture, and this rack was like, oh my God. And they had to cut the horns off of it and take it over to the DNR. I'm like, that is terrible, dude. That is like, that should be up on a wall. Because in this airport, this reservation, there's really no pressure, other than airplanes. And those are pretty honking looking deer. And it was like, damn, so.
I thought of both you real quick. I thought of both you too. There are a few places up there, businesses. It said taxidermy / game processing in the same building.
A lot of places do that.
Yeah.
A lot of places do that. My favorite is I like to get lunch where they sell live bait. That's my favorite. Like any place where it's like, hey, let's go get some lunch. You pull in, and it's also live. They have a live bait sign.
Yeah, but
that usually makes people nervous.
You eat raw fish and all that nasty shit anyway.
Oh.
Hey, you know what? I ain't scared of gas station sushi. I'm certainly not scared of any communists. So yeah, bring it. I can eat gas station sushi. I can eat a sweaty wiener that's been in there for a month, dude. If your ass is hungry and it's 2:00 in the morning and the only hot food is in the gas station, you will eat that shit.
Yeah, I'm not eating I'm not eating gas station sushi. I can go hungry.
I have literally eaten gas stations. I have eaten Mexican sushi that came out of a cooler on a boat that ran out of gas. off the coast of Mexico.
What the hell's
And
Mexican
potato salad.
sushi?
Yeah, I know. Well,
I can't even vision that.
Gas. We were out of gas and we were adrift, and I was hungry, and I was like, you know what? If I don't eat it now, it'll just be worse later. So I was like, because like the ship was adrift, and I was like, you know what? If I can let me have it, I'm gonna eat it because if you let it spoil for an hour, it'll make you sick. At least right now it's cold. I was like, let me eat it. I'll eat it all. Yeah, survival, baby. Yeah. Mexican sushi.
What the hell's Mexican sushi?
I don't know.
It's the caption of this podcast.
Do you know what Mexican sushi is? Mexican sushi is just like gas station sushi, except it's cooler. It's not as warm. That's exactly what it is. It looked like gas station sushi, but it was not as warm. Yeah, Mexican sushi. So we're gonna do the police blotter. We're also going to do the science segment, and this will be the toss for the episode. So, we think we know everything, right? Like we know how the world works, we know how the universe works, and we know everything there is to know about the planet, right? Well, scientists and criminologists have been doing studies in some of these places, like in zoos and in Africa. They have noticed a higher instances of all the animals around the world that die from lightning strikes. The giraffe seems to be more likely to die from a lightning strike than anything else. And they're trying to figure out why that is. And it's like, I couldn't even imagine why a giraffe...
And someone gets paid for this.
Someone gets paid for this. It's like...
I mean...
It's like...
Is this Thoros money?
I hope so. I bet you it's government money.
I mean...
They're doing studies. Are giraffes more likely to die from lightning strikes than anything else? It's like...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like, did the same guy do the study on more monkeys fall out of trees than any other animal? Oh my God.
Now this reminded me one. I don't remember when I saw this. It was a study, like this was not that long ago, probably within the past 15 years. Now just think about 15 years ago. Somebody did a study, a controlled study, and they proved that steroids grow muscles. And it's like,
stop.
It's like, what? It's like, Arnold's like, you could have just talked to Arnold Schwarzenegger. When did he start taking steroids? In the 60s? Like, what the flying fuck? Like, this was a controlled, blind, scientific study. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Hold on. You guys couldn't, in the same building, research medical facility, the same building where you guys did this study, you couldn't have just gone over to the rehab wing where people get hurt and they give them steroids to grow muscles? It's like, what in the hell is going on here? This is where your money's going.
Government funding.
Government funding, baby. And if that is not 2020, do you want big government or small government? So, well, this wraps up episode 188 of the John1911 Podcast. If you want to see any more stories, pictures, or links of a giraffe getting hit by lightning, please go to our website, John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun, and giraffes getting hit by lightning. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
True story, dude. True story.
Unbelievable.
Nobody could be that. You noticed when you said government funding, I kept my mouth shut.
That's right. That's right, ball sack.